This is to find out how to classify numbers. When you're looking at real numbers are represented by the letter R. Basically, real numbers are going to be all the numbers that you know right now. So it's all numbers. Okay. When we're looking at irrational is a type of real number. Irrational is marked with a capital I. And irrational numbers are numbers that never end and have no pattern. So you're looking at them, they never end and they have no pattern. Well, one of the most famous irrational numbers is pi, because pi goes on and on and on forever and ever. Another ones that are irrational are square roots of non-perfect squares, meaning, a perfect square is like 9 because the square root of 9 is 3. It's a perfect square. Another one would be like a negative square root of 24. That is an irrational number. Because when we find the square roots of these numbers, they just keep going and going and going. So now when we're looking at the other side of the real numbers, we're looking at rational numbers. When we're looking at the rational numbers, that's a Q for rational. Not sure why they use a Q, but that stands for rational. And rationals are all fractions and decimals that end or have a pattern. So like 1/3, if you were to put that as a decimal, you would get 0.33333 repeating, meaning that it has a pattern, it keeps repeating. Another number would be like 0.32. That's a decimal and it ends. -2 4/5. That's, again, it's going to have an ending point. It doesn't go on and on forever. Okay, now when we're looking at these, we're going another step further, and we're going to get down to integers. Integers are labeled with a Z. An integer is only going to be your positive and negative numbers. Not decimals, not fractions, like -3, -2, 0, 1, 3. Those are all going to be integers. And then if we take another step down, we're looking at whole numbers. So if we're looking at these whole numbers, a whole number is labeled with a W. And the difference between a whole number and an integer is whole numbers are only the positives. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just keep on going. A whole number is, again, a type of integer, but without the negatives. Notice we just keep getting a little bit smaller of a group of numbers. Now we're going to get down to natural numbers. Natural numbers are going to be your numbers basically the same as your whole numbers. The only difference is it does not include the 0. So the only difference between a whole number and a natural number is the 0. So then when we're looking at some of these and we're trying to figure out, we can look at this and say, okay, 30. It's wanting you to ask all sets of numbers to which each number belongs. So don't just go to the one and only it is. Make sure you list all. Okay, so we start at the top. Is it a real number? Yes, it's a real number, so we put an R. Okay. Let's take the next step. Is it rational or irrational? Well, it doesn't have a decimal, and it doesn't keep repeating, so, repeating would be rational. It's not an irrational, so that means it is a rational, so that's a Q. Is it an integer? Yes, it is an integer. What about a whole number? Well, it's a positive number, so yeah, it's a whole number. Is it a natural number? Yep. Remember, natural and whole, the only difference is 0. So that's what you would do there to just symbolize all of those that it falls under. Let's see. How about square root of 21? Is it a real number? Yeah, it's a real number, so we're going to put an R. Is it a rational number or irrational? Well, does the square root of 21 have a perfect square? No, it does not. So it would be irrational, which is an I. And I just realized I made a mistake up here. This shouldn't be an I right there for integer. An integer is a Z. Don't confuse those letters up there. Easy to do. Sometimes, though, you also have to look at whether or not you can simplify it. If you're looking here at number 7, 6 over 3. Well, 6 over 3 is just 6 divided 3, which is actually 2, which is a real number. It's rational. It is an integer. It is a whole number. And it is a natural number. So you can go ahead and finish those next 6 on your own. Another way of doing this is looking at where they fall in your rational, integer, whole, natural. So you notice that a natural is all the numbers. So down here you've got your smaller natural. Well, whole includes natural and what's outside of that. Then integers includes all the whole numbers and a little bit more. And the integers the rational numbers include the integers, the whole numbers, and the naturals, and a little bit more. But the irrational are over here on the side. So if we're looking at this, let's start off here with A. 7. So you're not gonna put it in all of these. That's where this part differs than the part we just did. You're gonna look at this and you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna put it where it stops. Okay, so is 7 rational or irrational? Well, we know it's rational. So now we're going to just keep going. Is it an integer? Yep. Is it a whole number? Yep. Is it a natural number? Well, remember, natural numbers are the positive whole numbers. And 7 would be a positive whole number, so you're going to put an A there, because that's where it stops. Let's try another one. Let's try 6.48. Okay, you're going to look at it. Is it rational or irrational? Well, the decimal point ends, so we know it is rational. So you come over here to the rational side. Okay, is it an integer? No, it is not. Remember, integers do not include decimal points. So we're going to put our E right here because we know it's a rational number, but it doesn't keep going. It's not an integer. Let's try one of the little bit difficult ones here, because you may have difficulty remembering how to simplify this. Whenever we have an expression like this, you could break up the radical. So you get the square root of 4 over the square root of 81. And if you remember your square roots, the square root of 4 is 2, square root of 81 is 9. So you're really looking at 2 ninths. Is 2 ninths a rational or irrational number? Well, we know it's a rational number. Is it an integer? No, it's a fraction. Therefore, we know that k is going to be up here because it does not keep going into the integers. go ahead and pause the video and finish up the rest of those on your own. The rest of these are basically thinking and trying to process these thoughts in your mind. Which expression does not name an integer? So you're going to be going through, okay, is A an integer? Well, it's negative, so it is an integer. Is 0 an integer? Well, yes, it's a natural number, so it's included in the integers. We've got 6/14. Is that an integer? No, because it's a fraction. So we know that's that answer. You're going to do that with some of these. And then you're also going to be just looking through and trying to determine, when you get down here to 4 or 5, which one of these is a true statement, which one is a false statement. Make sure you're looking for which, don't get mixed up on these words. This one's looking for a true, this one's looking for a false statement. And these would just be, number 6, 7, and 8 are just those numbers that was like back there where we stopped at the rational and it didn't go down to an integer, so it would be numbers like that. Finish up these and get it turned in.